That laugh sliced through the courtroom like shattered glass, sharp, taunting, and completely empty of remorse. At the defense table stood a 17-year-old girl, hands cuffed, drowning in a wrinkled orange jumpsuit from weeks in juvenile detention, and she was laughing. Not a nervous giggle, not that shaky laugh that sneaks out when you're terrified. This was intentional, staged, pure defiance aimed straight at the judge sitting just 10 feet away. Judge Judy's pen froze. She lifted her eyes from the case file and for 3 long seconds just stared. Ashley kept laughing, head tipped back like the whole thing was some kind of joke. Then Judy spoke, and the way her voice dropped into the room made everyone in the gallery sit up a little straighter. 30 seconds later, that same girl would be sobbing, pleading, completely broken. Before we get into how it all flipped like that, if you're watching this from anywhere in the world, type your country or city down in the comments, alright? I really want to know where you're tuning in from. And if you're into these jaw-dropping courtroom moments, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Now let's get into it. This case on paper was supposed to be straightforward. A juvenile matter transferred into Judge Judy's courtroom via a special arrangement with family court. The defendant, Ashley Morrison, 17, blonde hair yanked into a messy ponytail. Her face still had that soft teenage look, but her eyes, they looked decades older. She was charged with vehicular manslaughter and driving under the influence. The victim was a 23-year-old nursing student, Kayla Chen. She'd been driving home from her hospital shift at 2:00 a.m. when Ashley's car flew through a red light at 70 in a 35. Kayla died on impact. Ashley walked away with a few bruises. That was 8 weeks ago. In those 8 weeks, Ashley sat in juvenile detention waiting. Her parents hired a high-powered attorney who managed to shift this piece of the case into civil court in response to the wrongful death suit filed by Kayla's family. That's how it landed in front of Judge Judy. The criminal case was still hanging over Ashley's head, but this hearing was about money, responsibility, and one big question: did this 17-year-old girl even grasp what she'd done? That morning, the courtroom was packed. In the front row sat Kayla's family, her mom, her dad, and her younger brother. All three looked exhausted, but not the tired that sleep can fix. This was grief-tired, the kind that hasn't had enough time to even settle yet. Kayla's mother clutched a framed photo in her lap, Kayla in her nursing school graduation picture, smiling wide, whole future ahead of her. Ashley came in through a side door with 2 court officers. Technically, civil court doesn't require handcuffs, but under these circumstances, no one was taking chances. She shuffled to the defense table where her attorney, a middle-aged man in a very expensive suit, was already waiting. Ashley sat without so much as glancing at Kayla's family. Not one look. Her own parents were 3 rows back, her father in a business suit, jaw clenched, staring straight ahead. Her mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, but there were no actual tears, just the act of crying. Ashley didn't look at them either. Judge Judy skimmed the file one last time, then looked up. The room settled, silence spread. This was the moment. "We're here for Chen family versus Ashley Morrison," Judy began. "The plaintiffs are seeking damages for the wrongful death of their daughter, Kayla Chen, who was killed when the defendant ran a red light while driving under the influence of alcohol and marijuana. Ms. Morrison, you're 17 years old, correct?" Ashley's lawyer opened his mouth to respond, but Judy cut him off. "I asked her, Ms. Morrison, are you 17? Ashley gave a lazy shrug. Yes, Your Honor." "Yes, Your Honor," Judy corrected. Another shrug. "Sure, yes, Your Honor." And just like that, the tone was set. Judy scribbled something on her pad, then turned to the front row. "Mr. Chen, you're here on behalf of your daughter. Can you tell me what happened on the night of March 14th? Kayla's father stood slowly. His hands shook as they clutched a small notebook. "Our daughter was driving home from her shift at St. Mary's Hospital," he started, voice already tight. "She was a nursing student working nights to help pay for school. She was 3 months from graduating. She called us around 1:45 a.m. to say she was leaving work and would be home in 20 minutes. We always asked her to call, so we knew she was safe." His voice cracked. He paused, swallowed, then kept going. "At 2:03 a.m. we got a call from the police. They said there been an accident. They said Kayla's car had been hit by another vehicle that ran a red light. They said she didn't survive." Judy waited, giving him space, not rushing him. "We went to the hospital," he continued. "They let us see her. Our daughter was gone, just like that, 23 years old and gone because someone decided to get behind the wheel when they were too drunk and high to even see straight." He sat back down. His wife reached over and took his hand, squeezing hard. Judge Judy turned to Ashley. Ms. Morrison, do you understand what Mr. Chen just said? Do you understand that a young woman is dead because of your choices that night? Ashley glanced at her attorney. He gave her a small nod. She turned back. I guess. You guess, Judy repeated. I mean, yeah, I understand. It's sad or whatever. The room froze. Every bit of air seemed to vanish. Kayla's mother made a small sound, half gasp, half sob. Her husband wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Judy set her pen down very carefully. It's sad or whatever, that's your response. Ashley shifted in the chair. I don't know what else you want me to say. It was an accident. I didn't mean for it to happen. But you did get into a car after drinking, Judy countered. You chose that intentionally. I wasn't that drunk. The police report says your blood alcohol level was 0.14. The legal limit is 0.08. You were nearly double the limit, and you also tested positive for THC. Ashley rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes in court. Everyone smokes, it's not a big deal. It became a big deal when you killed someone, Judy shot back. It was an accident, Ashley repeated, irritation creeping into her voice now as if she were the one being inconvenienced. Judy leaned forward. An accident is when something happens despite your best efforts to prevent it. This was not an accident. This was a series of choices. You chose to drink. You chose to smoke marijuana. You chose to get behind the wheel of a 2-ton vehicle, and because of those choices, Kayla Chen is dead. Ashley's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client is a minor. She's gone through a traumatic experience. The night of the incident, she was injured, hospitalized, then taken into custody. She's still processing. She seems to be processing just fine, Judy interrupted. What she's not doing is showing any understanding of the seriousness of what she's done. With respect, Your Honor, the attorney tried again, Ashley is 17. She's not emotionally equipped to. At 17, Judy cut in, she was emotionally equipped to know not to drive drunk. Let's not treat her like a toddler. She turned back to Ashley. Ms. Morrison, walk me through that night. What were you doing before you got in the car? Ashley sighed like she'd told this story 100 times and was bored of it. I was at a party at my friend Brittany's house. Her parents were out of town. We were just hanging out, drinking. Some people were. Were you? Judy pressed. A little. How much is a little? Ashley shrugged again. I don't know, a few drinks, maybe 4 or 5. Over what period of time? I don't know, a couple of hours. And marijuana? I had like 1 hit, that's it. And then you decided to drive home. My phone was dying and I had to get home before my curfew, Ashley explained. Judy tilted her head. Your phone was dying, so you had to drive drunk, that's your logic. I couldn't call an Uber if my phone was dead. You could have asked someone else to call, you could have borrowed a phone, you could have called your parents. Ashley laughed, actually laughed. Yeah, right, call my parents from a party where I'd been drinking, they'd kill me. Instead, Judy said, voice like ice, you killed Kayla Chen. The laugh stopped cold in Ashley's throat. She stared at the judge, mouth slightly open. That's what we're talking about here, Judy continued, each word precise. You were more worried about getting in trouble with your parents than you were about the safety of everyone on the road, so you got into your car, drunk and high, and you drove and you killed someone. Ashley's face flushed. It's not like I meant to. Intent doesn't bring her back. Dead is dead, Judy replied. Kayla will never finish nursing school. She'll never help another patient. She'll never get married, have children, or grow old with her family, all because you couldn't be bothered to make a responsible choice. I said it was an accident, Ashley insisted. And I'm telling you it wasn't, Judy answered. Accidents are things you can't avoid. This was absolutely avoidable. You had a dozen chances to make a different choice. You didn't take any of them. Ashley slid down in her chair, arms crossed. Whatever. That was it, that one word. Judge Judy slowly stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She placed both hands on the bench and fixed Ashley with a look that seemed to drop the room temperature by 10 degrees. Excuse me. Ashley's eyes flickered. I just meant. You just meant what? Judy pressed. That this is boring, that you're tired of being held accountable, that you wish everyone would stop making such a big deal about the fact that you killed someone. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, it's all over your face. You think this is unfair, you think you're the victim here. Ashley's attorney rose. Your Honor, I really must object to. Sit down, Judy said, without even glancing at him. He sat. Let me tell you something about fairness, she continued, eyes still on Ashley. Fair would be if Kayla got to go home that night. Fair would be if her parents didn't have to bury their daughter. Fair would be if her little brother still had his sister. That would be fair. What's happening to you right now? These are called consequences. The tough act started to crack. Ashley's shoulders curved inward, her crossed arms tightening like armor. You're 17, Judy went on. Old enough to drive, old enough to make choices, but somehow not mature enough to understand that those choices have consequences. So let me make this very clear. She picked up a document. I've read the police report, I've read the toxicology results, I've read the accident reconstruction. Do you know what they all say? Ashley stayed silent. They all say the same thing, Judy answered herself. You were speeding 70 mph in a 35. You ran a red light that had been red for 4 full seconds. 4 seconds, that's not you trying to beat a yellow, that's not it just turned red. You blasted through that intersection at 70 mph without even slowing down. I didn't see it, Ashley muttered. You didn't see a red light, Judy asked. It was dark, there weren't many cars, I didn't notice, Ashley said. You didn't notice, Judy repeated, because you were impaired, because you were drunk and high and had no business being behind the wheel. I've driven like that before and nothing happened, Ashley blurted, voice rising. The room went dead silent, even her attorney looked stunned. Kayla's mother made a strangled sound and nearly collapsed. Her husband had to steady her. Judy's expression barely changed, but her eyes sharpened. Say that again. Ashley realized what she just admitted. I didn't mean. Say it again, Judy demanded. I just meant that one time isn't. You just admitted under oath that you have driven under the influence multiple times before this, Judy said evenly. Your Honor, my client misspoke, the attorney jumped up. She's under tremendous stress. She's under oath, Judy shot back, and she just admitted to a pattern of dangerous behavior that ended in a young woman's death. She made another note. I'll be sure to forward that statement to the criminal court handling your case. Ashley's face went white. Wait, I didn't. You did, Judy said, and now we're going to talk about what happens next. She sat down again, movements slow and controlled. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, you're requesting $1 million in damages, is that correct? Kayla's father nodded. Yes, Your Honor. How did you arrive at that number? Judy asked. Kayla would have graduated in 3 months, he explained. She already had a job offer at St. Mary's, the same hospital where she worked. Starting salary was $65,000 a year. Over a 40-year career, that's $2.6 million in lost earnings. We're asking for less than half of that. The rest is for pain and suffering, for losing our daughter, for the fact that we'll never see her get married, have kids, or live the life she worked so hard to build. Judy nodded, then turned to the defense. Does the defendant have anything to say about the damages requested? Ashley's attorney cleared his throat. Your Honor, while we recognize the tragic loss of life, we believe $1 million is excessive. My client is a minor from a middle-class family. Her parents are not wealthy. A judgment of that size would be financially devastating. Not as devastating as losing a daughter, Judy replied flatly. With respect, Your Honor, Ashley has her whole life ahead of her. A judgment this large would. Would what? Judy cut him off. Affect her future? Good. Maybe it will remind her every single day that her choices have consequences. Maybe it will make her think twice before ever driving impaired again. She turned to Ashley, who was staring down at the table, shoulders shaking slightly. Ms. Morrison, look at me. Ashley lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were red now. Do you have anything you want to say to the Chen family? Judy asked. Anything at all. For a long beat, Ashley said nothing, then quietly, I'm sorry. You're sorry, Judy repeated. Sorry you got caught, sorry you're in trouble, or sorry that Kayla is dead. Ashley's voice cracked. I'm sorry she's dead, I didn't want this to happen. But you did want to drive drunk, you made that choice. I wasn't thinking, Ashley whispered. Exactly, Judy replied. You weren't thinking about anyone but yourself, not Kayla, not her family, not the other people on the road, just you, your curfew, and your phone battery. Tears started to roll down Ashley's cheeks. The bravado was gone. I know I messed up, she sobbed. I know it was wrong, but I can't change it, I can't bring her back. No, you can't, Judy said, but you can take responsibility, real responsibility, not this halfway apology where you're more focused on what happens to you than what you've done to them. Your Honor, my client is clearly remorseful, her attorney tried. Remorseful? Judy's voice sliced through his words. She laughed when she walked in here, she rolled her eyes when I talked about the victim, she called a young woman's death sad or whatever. That's not remorse, that's inconvenience. He had nothing to say. Judy pulled out the judgment form. Here, what's going to happen? The plaintiffs have requested $1 million in damages. I am awarding them $1.2 million. Ashley's parents shot to their feet in the back. Her father's face flared red. Your Honor, that's... Sit down, Judy ordered without turning around. They sat. The additional $200,000 is punitive damages, she continued. That means it's specifically to punish Ms. Morrison for her reckless behavior and to deter her from ever doing something like this again. Ashley was openly crying now. I can't pay that, I don't have that kind of money. Then you'll get a job, Judy said calmly. You'll work. You'll spend the next 20 years paying what you owe to the family whose daughter is gone, and every month when you write that check you'll remember exactly why. But I'm going to college, Ashley protested. Then you'll work and go to college, Judy replied. Plenty of people do. This will ruin my life, Ashley cried. Judy leaned forward, her voice quiet but sharp as a blade. Your life isn't ruined, you're alive, you still get to go to college, have a career, build a family, have a future. Kayla doesn't get any of that, her life is ruined, yours is just going to be hard, learn the difference. Ashley buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Furthermore, Judy continued, tone steady, I'm ordering you to complete 500 hours of community service at St. Mary's Hospital where Kayla worked. You'll work in the same unit she did. You'll see the work she would have been doing. You'll see the lives she would have helped. You'll spend 500 hours thinking about the future you destroyed. Your Honor, the attorney objected, community service is usually assigned in criminal court, not civil. I'm assigning it anyway, Judy replied. If you want to appeal, go ahead, I'm still putting it in the judgment. She wrote a few more notes, then looked at Ashley again. You will also attend victim impact classes every week for the next 2 years. You'll listen to people whose loved ones were killed by drunk drivers. You'll hear their stories, you'll sit with their pain, and maybe, just maybe, you'll grow some genuine empathy. Ashley couldn't even speak now, she just cried, shoulders shaking. Judy turned to Kayla's family. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I know no amount of money will bring your daughter back. I know nothing I do here can erase your pain, but I hope this judgment sends a clear message. Your daughter's life mattered. Her death will not be brushed off as sad or whatever. It will be remembered. It will mean something. Kayla's mother spoke for the first time, voice barely there. Thank you, Your Honor. Judy nodded. I'm also ordering the defendant to write you a letter every month for the next 2 years. In that letter, she will explain what she's learning, how she's changing, and how she's working to ensure no one else goes through what you're going through. You don't have to read them if you don't want to, but she will write them. She looked back at Ashley, who was still sobbing, her attorney's arm around her shoulders. Ms. Morrison, Judy said, I want you to understand something. You're 17, you made a catastrophic mistake, but you're still young enough to learn from it. You're still young enough to become a better person. That's a gift Kayla doesn't have. She doesn't get to grow, change, or improve. Her story ended at 23 because of you. I know, Ashley whispered through tears. Do you, Judy asked, do you really understand what you've taken from this family, from Kayla? I think so, Ashley said weakly. No, Judy replied, not yet, but you will. Over the next 20 years, as you work to pay this judgment, as you complete your service, as you sit in those classes and write those letters, you will begin to understand. And it will hurt. It should hurt. That pain is how you'll know you're changing. Judy signed the judgment form with slow, deliberate strokes. This court awards the plaintiffs $1,200,000 in damages. The defendant will begin paying $1,000 per month starting 60 days from today. The payment schedule may be adjusted if she proves financial hardship, but the total will not be reduced. She glanced at Ashley's parents. And before you try to pay this for her, don't. This is her debt, her responsibility. If you pay it, she learns nothing. Ashley's father opened his mouth to argue, but her mother pulled him back down. Additionally, Judy went on, The defendant is ordered to complete 500 hours of community service at St. Mary's within 18 months, attend weekly victim impact classes for 2 years, and write monthly letters to the Chen family for 2 years detailing her progress and growth. She raised the gavel and brought it down. Court is adjourned. But she didn't stand right away. Instead, she looked at Ashley one more time and spoke. Ms. Morrison, you came in here laughing. You thought this was a joke. You thought you could charm or minimize your way out of this. You couldn't. And within 30 seconds of me speaking to you like an adult instead of a child, you broke. That tells me something important. Ashley looked up through her tears. It tells me that underneath all the fake confidence and teenage bravado, you know what you did was wrong. You know you shattered a family. You know you ended a life that deserved to continue. You're just afraid to face that. Ashley nodded, unable to say anything. Good, Judy said. Be afraid, feel that fear. Let it be the thing that keeps you from ever making a choice like this again. And 20 years from now, when you've paid every cent, when you've done your hours and your classes and your letters, you'll look back on today and realize this was the day your real life began. The day you stopped being a careless child and started becoming a responsible adult. Then she stood. This court is adjourned. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Judy disappeared through the door behind the bench. Slowly, the courtroom came back to life, people standing, grabbing their things, whispering about what they'd just seen. Ashley stayed at the defense table, head buried in her arms, sobbing. Her attorney tried to comfort her. She pushed him away. Her parents rushed down the aisle, her mother wrapping her in a hug, her father standing behind them, stiff and silent. Across the room, Kayla's family remained seated, her mother still holding that framed photo, her father with an arm around their son. They weren't smiling because grief doesn't evaporate when a gavel falls, but there was something new in their faces. Recognition, validation, a sense that someone had finally heard their pain and treated it seriously. Outside, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Kayla's family exited first. They gave a short statement. We want to thank Judge Judy for taking our daughter's death seriously, for refusing to let it be minimized. Kayla was a wonderful person with a bright future, and that future was taken from her. We hope this judgment sends a message to other young people. Driving drunk isn't a mistake, it's a choice, and choices have consequences. No questions, they got into their car and drove away, still holding together as a unit. Ashley came out about 20 minutes later, surrounded by her parents and lawyer. Reporters shouted questions, but she kept her head down, face blotchy, saying nothing. Her attorney muttered something about considering an appeal, but even he didn't sound convinced. They climbed into their car and left. The case went national. Clips of Ashley laughing at the start and crying by the end went viral. People argued online, was the judgment too harsh or not nearly harsh enough? Victim advocacy groups praised Judge Judy's decision. Some defense attorneys called the punitive damages excessive. But inside the courtroom that day, none of that chatter mattered. What mattered was this. A 17-year-old walked in believing she could laugh her way through the fallout of killing someone and walked out knowing she absolutely could not. 6 months later, Ashley was working 3 jobs, one at a coffee shop near her house, one doing remote data entry, one cleaning offices at night. She enrolled in community college, taking online classes so she could cram work around them. She'd also started her community service at St. Mary's, the same hospital where Kayla had worked. The first time she walked into Kayla's old unit, she saw a board on the wall. In memory of Kayla Chen, it read, with that same graduation photo. Below it were notes from patients and staff, stories about how Kayla had helped them, how kind she'd been, how much she cared. Ashley stood there for 10 minutes, reading every word, tears streaming down her face, and then she went to work. Her first letter to Kayla's family went out 3 weeks after the judgment. It took 6 hours and 4 drafts. In it, she told them about starting her jobs, about her first day at the hospital, about seeing Kayla's memorial board. She told them she was sorry, really sorry this time. Not the thin, defensive sorry she'd given in court, but something raw and painful. She didn't know if they ever opened it. They never responded. She kept writing anyway, month after month, just as the judge ordered. The victim impact classes were tougher than she ever expected. Sitting in a circle with people whose loved ones had been killed by impaired drivers, hearing story after story. One woman lost her husband and 2 children when a drunk driver crossed the median. Another man lost his best friend a week before the wedding. Ashley sat, listened, and stopped trying to make excuses. She didn't talk much, she just took it in. Slowly, painfully, she started to feel the full weight of what she'd taken from the Chen family. 2 years after the judgment, Ashley was still working, still paying, still learning. She completed her 500 hours and then signed up to do more voluntarily. She finished her victim impact classes but kept attending support groups for people dealing with guilt and trauma. She'd written 24 letters to Kayla's family, still no response. She kept sending them. In her 24th letter, she wrote something different. "I used to think that night ruined my life. I was wrong. That night saved my life. If I hadn't been caught, if I hadn't been forced to face this, I would have kept driving drunk. Eventually, I would have killed someone else, maybe more than one person, maybe myself. Judge Judy didn't ruin my life with that judgment. She woke me up. She made me see what I had become and gave me a chance to become better." She ended it the way she ended every letter. "I'm sorry, I will always be sorry, and I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure Kayla's death means something." She mailed the letter, then headed to another shift at the coffee shop. Another day chipping away at a debt that would follow her for years. Another day carrying the weight of what she'd done, but carrying it, not hiding, not minimizing, not running, choosing every single day to face it. Judge Judy never saw Ashley again after that hearing, over her career. She'd seen countless young people who thought they were untouchable, who made terrible choices and then tried to laugh, cry, or charm their way out of consequences. Most walked away unchanged. They paid their fines, did their time, and went right back to the same habits. But every now and then someone got it, someone truly changed. In later interviews, when asked about the Ashley Morrison case, Judy said something that stuck with a lot of people. "You can tell a lot about someone by how they react when you hold them accountable. Some double down on excuses, some blame everyone but themselves. But every once in a while you see someone break, really break, because they finally see themselves clearly. Those are the ones who might actually become better." Was Ashley one of those? Time would tell. But on that day in court, when her laughter turned to tears and her arrogance collapsed into understanding, something shifted. Whether that change would last, whether she'd truly spend the next 20 years making Kayla's death mean something, that was a story still being written. Judge Judy had given her a choice: let this destroy her or let it remake her. The easy route was destruction, the hard one was rebuilding, and for the first time in her life, Ashley Morrison chose the hard way. The case ended up being used in schools across the country. Students watched the clip of Ashley laughing, then breaking down. Teachers used it to talk about consequences, responsibility, and the real cost of impaired driving. Some students saw themselves in Ashley, the false confidence of never having really faced consequences, the belief that rules are flexible, that you can talk your way out of anything. Those students watched very closely. Others saw themselves in Kayla, working hard, following rules, building a future, only to have it all stolen by someone else's reckless choice. Those students walked away determined to be careful, to call rideshares, to take away keys from drunk friends, to value life, both theirs and others. And a few saw both sides in themselves. They realized how easily you could end up as Kayla or as Ashley, victim or destroyer. They saw just how thin that line really was. Those were the ones who learned the biggest lesson of all: every choice matters, every single one. Years later, Kayla's family created a scholarship in her name for nursing students at her university. The requirements were simple: financial need, good grades, and a clear commitment to helping others. Every year, $5,000 went to one student who lived by the values Kayla had stood for. In her third year of community college, Ashley applied for that scholarship. She had changed her major to nursing. She wanted to help people the way Kayla had wanted to help people. She wanted to spend her life trying to honor the one she'd taken. She didn't get the scholarship. The committee felt, given everything, it wouldn't be appropriate. She kept studying anyway, kept working, kept trying to become someone who, one day, might be worthy of working in the same profession where Kayla should have thrived. She'll be paying off that judgment for another 15 years. Every month, she sends a check to Kayla's family. Every month, she remembers why, not because a judge is watching, not because she's scared of getting in trouble, but because Kayla deserved more than to have her life ended by someone who didn't want to call an Uber. That courtroom laugh, it lasted maybe 5 seconds. The tears that followed lasted much longer. But the real lesson, the deep, gut-level understanding of what she'd done, that's something Ashley will carry for the rest of her life. And maybe that was the point. Judge Judy didn't just want Ashley to cry, she wanted her to understand, to carry the weight of her choices, to spend every day working to be worthy of the second chance Kayla never got. 30 seconds of brutal truth can change everything. 30 seconds can smash fake confidence and expose what's underneath. And underneath Ashley's arrogance was a terrified kid who'd made a catastrophic decision and didn't know how to face it. Judge Judy made her face it, made her look straight at what she'd done and at who she'd hurt. And in the exact moment when the laughter died and the tears started, Ashley Morrison's real education began. It started in that courtroom, the rest of her life that's where it continues.